Good evening and thank you for joining us for another episode of Business PNG. Over the years, a sense of patriotism has crept into the attitudes of Papua New Guinean consumers. Whether it's the influx of cheap Chinese goods in the marketplace, or maybe the manufacturing sector has gone above and beyond in improving quality PNG-made products and services. Whatever it is, the PNG consumer is buying more and more locally made products annually. PNG made. One sees the sign on the store window, the label on your favorite biscuit, or the bright traditional designs embedded with the PNG made label on your Coca-Cola bottle. The apparent message is, let's support local business, a kind of community boosterism. But buying close to home may be more than a feel-good, worth paying more for local matter. Research has shown how money flows and the profound economic impact of keeping money in town, and how the fate of many communities around the nation and the world increasingly depend on it.
We're in a funny situation in Papua New Guinea. We have done some independent market research, both in the urban areas and in the, the more rural and remote areas. And the brand awareness of the PNG made logo is very, very high. You know, over 90% of Papua New Guineans actually, when they see the PNG made logo, they know what it is, and they actually understand that that is a symbol saying that that good is made in Papua New Guinea. You know, even better is that almost as many Papua New Guineans, when they see that logo, they believe that a PNG made good is of equal or higher quality than an imported good. You know, quite often there used to be a perception that locally made goods were of lesser quality, particularly in some of our other neighbouring countries. In PNG it's not the case. But when it comes to making a purchasing decision, less than 5% of Papua New Guineans, when they walk down the supermarket aisle, say, I want to buy PNG made. Within that sample as well, almost 2/3 of the sample surveyed understand that buying a PNG made product is about keeping a job in the economy, and those same people, or more than that, understand that we need employment and jobs in Papua New Guinea.
At the most basic level, when you buy local, more money stays in the economy. The New Economics Foundation, an independent economic think tank based in London, compared what happens when people buy produce at a supermarket versus a local market or community-supported agriculture program, and found that twice the money stayed in the community when people bought locally. That means those purchases are twice as efficient in terms of keeping the local economy alive. Many local economies are suffering not because too little cash comes in, but as a result of what happens to that money. The NEF says money is like blood. It needs to keep moving around to keep the economy going, noting that when money is spent elsewhere, it flows out like a wound. It doesn't help that around 85% of the products in the average Papua New Guinean grocery trolley are either imported or made by foreign-owned companies. PNG's rapidly growing domestic market is driving demand for locally produced products, from paint and printed goods to refined petroleum. Local production also caters to the business-to-business market, especially in the mining, petroleum, and construction sectors. And local producers are increasingly finding new markets, particularly in neighbouring Pacific islands such as Solomon Islands, Australia, and New Zealand.
We've always been consistent in our brand messages. We've always been evolving our brand so it changes with time. We've stayed in touch with our customers. We regularly interview our consumers so we know what they want, and the brand brings that to them.
We believe we deliver rice at a greater than competitive price than for the medium grain product that we produce than compared to many other countries. So we do that through the efficiencies that we've been able to bring into our business over the course of the last 45 years.
We have recently slashed our prices and made it much more affordable and acceptable to the consumers of PNG. So our Coca-Cola cans are just 2 kina now. So these cans, along with the host of products we have in this country, should be able to offer very affordable and a good value for all our consumers in Papua New Guinea.
But why buy local? This question is best answered by Michael H. Schumann, author of the book Going Local. Going local does not mean walling off the outside world. It means nurturing locally owned businesses which use local resources sustainably, employ local workers at decent wages, and serve primarily local consumers. It means becoming more self-sufficient and less dependent on imports. Control moves from the boardrooms of distant corporations and back into the community where it belongs. There are two key reasons to support Papua New Guinean-owned companies. Firstly, profit stays in Papua New Guinea, and secondly, jobs are created for Papua New Guineans. Cheap imports into Papua New Guinea are posing an increasing threat to local producers, with reports of foreign companies dumping goods in PNG or under-declaring the value of imports. We asked a handful of local producers about the biggest threats to their brands. Local production promotes local manufacturing and builds capacity where the social enterprise is working. There have been a lot of recent calls on Papua New Guineans to patronize local goods and services to help local manufacturers and service providers to be able to stay in operation and contribute towards national economic development. These calls have come as a result of the low interest Papua New Guineans have shown in patronizing local goods and services.
Within that sample as well, almost 2/3 of the sample surveyed understand that buying a PNG-made product is about keeping a job in the economy, and those same people, well more than that, understand that we need employment and jobs in Papua New Guinea. So with the 40th anniversary coming back, I think we often have this sense of nationalism, but the irony is that the majority of Papua New Guineans are going to be running around the streets, you know, waving cheap flags that have been made in China, wearing cheap t-shirts that are made in China, all of course with, you know, our PNG national symbols and flags and that all over it. And you know, it is certainly quite sad that more people don't make those choices and support PNG-made products.
Imports are essential for any economy to function properly, but dumping is causing major impediments for most of Papua New Guinea's producers. Dumping is the importation of goods at or below their cost of production.
I think the most prevalent form of dumping in Papua New Guinea is of goods that are of very, very low quality, quite often do not meet the standards that we have in Papua New Guinea, don't meet the labelling requirements. We quite often have a significant volume of products coming into PNG, particularly food products, that are being sold in our market that are well beyond their general shelf life. And this comes back to the packaging and labelling. Because they don't have a best before date or a production date on there, it's very difficult to ascertain what that shelf life would be. But we've just got many, many examples of products entering PNG whose shelf life had expired long before they got here. Papua New Guineans keep buying this stuff. You know, we don't need politicians or governments to fix this problem for us. Certainly the government has a role in terms of trying to maintain and regulate standards, but the logical choice and the right choice is the people that buy. And we need to vote with our wallets. And, you know, I hope people buy PNG made, but most importantly we need to start buying quality. And quality doesn't always mean very, very expensive, but if you're buying something that's very, very cheap, it's very, very cheap because it's not of that right standard. And that's what's really flooding into our market. And you only have to read the newspaper on any day, listen to the radio station, you know, segments on various TV shows where people are complaining about the flooding of these cheap goods. So it's a different type of flooding, but that certainly is, you know, a big problem for PNG.
PNG's manufacturers have therefore concentrated on niche opportunities in PNG and neighbouring markets.
Now, the consumer preference for rice in Papua New Guinea is a medium grain blend. Unlike most other rices, which are long grain, Trukai and roots rice are primarily medium grain style rices. And this is the flavour preference that has endured in this country for well over 4 decades. Now, as a result, we source rice primarily from Australia, where the best medium grain rice in the world comes from, but also the highest yields and returns are produced on rice in that medium grain format.
We know that Papua New Guineans are very proud of a product that's made in Papua New Guinea that's good. And our brand over many years has won awards all over the world for its quality. So we like to promote the fact that it's made in Papua New Guinea, by Papua New Guineans, for Papua New Guineans. And I think that hits a trigger for people, but of course people like to buy things from elsewhere as well. But we're aware of how important that is. We've been here all that time doing that, so that's a space that we occupy.
And now on to some news bites that have been making headlines in the country. Oktedi Mining Limited is preparing to shut down its operations temporarily as a result of the dry weather event that is already significantly impacting its operations. River traffic on the Fly River into and out of Oktedi's main river port at Kyungar has been unreliable for some weeks due to low water levels. Diesel stocks for power generation and mining operations cannot be sustained, and replenishment of food stock is also affected. Transport of copper concentrate product to Port Moresby for on-shipment has also been unreliable, creating uncertainty with regard to cash inflows necessary to sustain operation. Demobilization of non-essential personnel from Tabubil has commenced. The Oktedi workforce, contractors and families are being progressively demobilized, and once a final decision is made to temporarily shut down operations, a skeleton crew will remain on site for care and maintenance and security. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill has commissioned a 45 million kina gravel and vertical cast pipe plant owned by Monier Limited. In opening the plant at the Nibiri and Rona quarries near Port Moresby, Prime Minister O'Neill said the construction sector will continue to grow and employ thousands more Papua New Guineans as the economy expands. PNG is seeing a significant growth in the construction sector, with companies investing heavily. Mr. Peter O'Neill says this growth gives confidence to investors of a growing economy.
It is certainly of course, investment that is needed particularly in the construction industry in Papua New Guinea. We know that this is the right time to invest in our country. The economy is doing well, and of course, we can see the growth of businesses over the past 10 or 14 years as the economy continued to grow.
O'Neill says not only Monier, but other investors are eyeing PNG as an ideal place to invest. Kina Securities Limited has announced that its initial public offering of ordinary fully paid shares has closed fully subscribed, following strong support from Australian and international Tier 1 institutions and Australian and PNG retail investors. Kina Securities offered approximately 97 million fully paid ordinary shares at a price of 2 kina 8 toya and Australian $1, and will have a market capitalization of approximately 341 million kina and 164 million Australian dollars on listing. The book build for the IPO was significantly oversubscribed, with demand for shares approximately 4 times the target amount. The offer was conducted in part to raise capital to fund the acquisition of Maybank PNG, which is PNG's 4th largest bank. And that's all we have for you tonight. For more business news, so if you would simply like to view this episode again, visit MTV online at www.mtv.com.pg. Or to join the conversation, like our page on Facebook for daily business news, or follow us on Twitter at Business PNG using the hashtag Business PNG. Until next week, enjoy the rest of your viewing on MTV. I'm Leanne Jurari, and this was Business PNG.